It's Saturday. It's July 8th, 2023. Significant for me on the calendar because it's a 78, but whatever on that. So I was looking back at a year ago, a picture of my son and I when we went to the movie theaters. And I'm looking at where we are exactly a calendar year forward. I discovered something that Paramount, which is Viacom company, put out. Um, Via has the symbol of the VI. They put out this movie called The General's Daughter in 1999. Now, normally it has some horrific, um, like the type that, like a woman or a lady, like one of those, and then the implications. So I'm just careful with this one, not to have it like whatever, but um, it happens to come at 1999 when in New York there was a headline, a trend of a Y2K going on, with clocks. Um, After, I mean, in my own real life, I know the tie-in. So, anyhow, um, so I'm watching this yesterday, and it speaks of the general's daughter. They use these interesting words in the movies. They named the characters in the plot. Um, if I'm speaking like 6 foot under spade, like they use a spade to dig graves. So in this one, it says Kent, Bath, Elizabeth, Sun Hill, Brussels is in there. What else did they use? Fowler, and then they use this name, Camp Bell. Um, I walked Bell the other day with my father. I've been documenting how Bell in a boulevard looks, in this day and age in the year 2023. So I'm thinking that and the actor that they chose, not John Travolta, but the man from whatever that is, Charlotte's Web. He was the pig farmer. I don't remember his name, but I know he's a very well known actor. Um, so, and again, and I'm in a place called New York. I don't know if York and Amsterdam are still fighting. I mean, like, those would be private family matters, I suppose, at such a high, distant level from where my day to day takes place. But I notice in this movie they mentioned something called a psyops. They have the fifth operational and then a seven, and I have a 75 problem with this TO, which means uncle in the cold territory. Um, and after some crazy donkey meeting. Um, so, and there was this birthday party thing when I was a kid called Pin the Tail on the Donkey. So again, I'm just whatever it is. And then Cuomo came out with this thing. First, he's got a Marine who's trying to build a more perfect union. So I'm listening to him, who says that his employ and deploy sent him to a faraway nation, where then when he returned, it seemed like America was more divided than unionized. So, and I'm sitting here, and then there's this thing about a sex slave that they're speaking of, in some parallel dimensional conjecture, or paradox on the news that Cuomo's covering. And it references a four, a Roman numeral four, at the end of Rudy's last name. He's got three names and then a four. And I noticed in the general's daughter, on one of the patches, they have the four, the Roman numeral four. Um, So that seems at a Paramount and a Roman numeral 6 for Viacom. Just seems really like if I'm doing a count at upper and lowercase gamma in Greek, it seems really important of a mention based on how trapped I feel in the local area. And if I speak planetarium, like I don't know what planet they consider me from, but when I go out I see aliens. I don't know. One, like again, I don't know if I'm supposed to categorize them, but there's very really multiple alien species when I walk out on Bell Boulevard. Just so, I don't know, do I report to the local Roman numeral 4, the local Roman numeral 6? Do you do a peace sign, a Roman numeral 5? Like it's unbeknownst to me, and I don't want to misreport. However, I've seen some changes, and it seems very concerning because I don't know who's responsible, and I don't know why I'm trapped in this situation with what feels like no other options. Um, and I have clocks. I mean, there's importance in that feature as a biological. I mean, a flower who brought forth seed of anatomical clocks. I mean, again, in high spatial awareness, these are important things, but it seems in this modern day and age, in this area, it seems to have been forgotten, and I'm not quite sure why. Um, Getting to like the crux of the situations, this is what they mention on Cuomo. It's actual Marines be trying to build a more perfect union.
All right. A recent poll found that about two-thirds of us believe the country is more divided than usual. We certainly talk about it more. There's certainly more magnification of division. That's for sure. But here's what we don't talk about. Here's where we don't have enough the answers, right? Because everybody's about the problem and making it worse. It's certainly what the parties are about. But why wouldn't it come from the best of us, our veterans? So the group you're about to hear about equips veterans to become leaders in their communities, to bring people from opposite ends of the political spectrum together and create unity, brick by brick, as he says, taking what they learned on the battlefield and applying it to the home front. Let's bring in the founder of A More Perfect Union, Iraq combat veteran Jake Harriman. Jake, I've been waiting to meet you. You come highly recommended by mutual friends.
It's great to be here, Chris. Thanks.
You know, we always try at least to say, oh, thank you for your service. You're a veteran. That's great. It's great to see veterans in leadership. But I can't remember ever seeing a kind of political action committee of sorts coming from veterans for veterans to mobilize veterans in communities across the country. Why did you believe this would work, and how is it working?
I came to this work from my previous work where I was fighting extreme poverty downrange in conflict areas, trying to really give people lasting, meaningful choices, that freedom that we enjoy here in the United States. I had gotten into that work because of the operations that we had done when I was a Force Recon Marine and infantry before that in some of these tough places, where I began to see that a lot of the choices that these folks had in desperate poverty drove them into a lot of the groups who were fighting, whether it was Al Qaeda.
Now, some of the aliens in my normal walkabout, I mean, again, I think it's Earth because there's ear things, and the first three letters of Earth is ear, EAR. So the planet arrangement seems like it's still Earth because there's ear things walking around. What's changed in like a very like Silence of the Lambs and like Clarice trying to figure out what Anthony Hopkins is up to in like a very, I can't even watch the whole movie. I'm so disgusted by it. But if I just listen to the plot in like a pitch from like screen director to the audience without having to watch the visual, but just conceptualizing the possibility and the plausibility, I get it, kind of, sort of, in a not really kind of wondering way. Um, but I'm noticing that the city of New York and the five boroughs really seem to be like, if I speak at surf level to kingdom level, it really seems like the landlord, the warlord, and the drug lord are at odds with one another. It would appear only because of what's starting to gather. And it looks very much like what they were used to report when these Americans were over in foreign nation, doing FO observations. But I'm here at like home territory, home planet. And I'm like, I've had some, what I would assume is very respectful, whatever, once upon a time. And now I'm looking out and I'm seeing, if it's the Garden of Eden for in a sense, there's some real planting and seedling changes that really concern me. And I didn't get a memo and I've been kind of stuck here. And then there's some health problems I've had with not being able to get and fight for the correct things because they've almost essentially silenced me. And I don't know why, but I'm looking for answers. And here we are.
Whether it was Al Qaeda or eventually ISIS. So originally, I started an organization to bring former operators into these tough areas to work with folks who knew sustainable solutions to poverty to help lift these folks out of poverty and create resilience corridors to stop the spread of ISIS and Al Qaeda.
Right, but if they wind up showing up in your local area, or your suspicions are, and it looks like they're trying to bring down, how do you alert the landlord in like a serfdom way from like the good Lord, like, oh, good Lord, what's going on here, to the landlord somewhere else, possibly, so they can handle whatever their responsibilities are without bringing embarrassment onto oneself, one's children, one's livelihood, or the landlord themselves. I'm just, again, I watched The General's Daughter, and I tried to watch Silence of the Lambs, but it was a bit much for my stomach.
So I was doing that work. I was living in villages for about 7 years, and I came back to the United States to participate in a program that President Bush and President Clinton were starting to equip emerging leaders with the skills that they need to be able to take their projects to the next level. And I was going to work with my organization to do that. But when I came home for this project,
And I've heard briefly, I don't study his kind and his vocation, but I hear them speaking of projects and all this stuff. These things were not offered to me, like this construct of how do you start a project, how do you fund a project, how do you initiate a project. I have no idea. The gift that he was given of insight to some foreign land and how to use his gifts here to defend his homeland after his service time over there was served. He was gifted a level of knowledge and insight and wisdom and was paid for it with that opportunity that I have not been blessed with. So forgive me in my, not, it's not ignorance, but it's silence of, I I've had a very different journey. It has a very different encompass of things, and I don't know how to unpack it correctly, and I don't know who needs to know, but it is a very tricky POV, but it is very important nonetheless because it's clocks. and it speaks to other things going on.
I hadn't been in the States I hadn't lived here for 15 years. I'd always been downrange in combat as a Marine, and then I lived in these villages for my organization, Nuru International, for 7 years. And man, Chris, when I came home for this project, this program with the presidents, I was shocked by what I saw. I did not recognize the country that I left to fight for in 2000. There was this bitter divisiveness and fear that was ripping the country apart. You had this harmful toxicity that had gotten in.
20 years, that's kind of around the same timeline of when Y2K happened, which happened just before 9/11 happened. And now we're 20 years down, and this is what one of the service members are speaking of back here.
That had gotten into our politics, really destroying all value for the American citizens. And I was sad. All of us had been downrange fighting to protect and preserve the idea of America, only to realize it wasn't going to be ISIS or Al Qaeda that defeated us. It was going to be us. And then I got really angry. And I was like, I did not watch a bunch of my buddies pay the ultimate sacrifice only to allow us to tear ourselves apart here at home. And so that motivated me. It moved me. And I wanted to try to find a solution here. It didn't matter how much great work we were doing downrange. If the light of American democracy goes out, what's it all for? The world needs the idea of America right now. And I understood that it was going to take veterans like us who understood the cost of freedom, who had been downrange fighting tooth and nail to defend it, that we're going to have to start a new movement here at home that could be the catalyst to make that change. So I came home.
Now, are you looking to have veterans? Are you looking to have them in elected office, or is it just equipping people within their communities and their private roles as citizens? How does it work best?
And before he starts out as like a civilian and someone who is trapped here in New York my whole entire life without this ability to gain money, opportunity, or an outlet, or even have a opportunity with a handsome, respectable man that I could build a life with and enjoy that journey. I haven't had any of that. I'm concerned by this because I don't know, like, where are my children opportunity to serve country and family. I like they've missed this window of opportunity as far as I am aware of, and I don't know, like, if that's what they're choosing only in order to listen to, then we've already been disadvantaged, and they had plenty of opportunity to fix my entire life, and I'm clock service for this area.
So we actually have a two-front approach. So on the one side, we're trying to build the next generation of civic organization for the country. Now, it's a veteran-led initiative. When veterans, our men and women, come home from overseas fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan, they need a new hill to take. They need purpose. They need meaning. And there's no greater hill right now to take than helping save our democracy. So we equip and train the very best veterans from around the country at a program we've started at the University of Montana to give them the skills and tools they need to go back to their communities and launch what we call brickyard operations. Now, these are chapters where folks do civic education, leadership development training, community service projects.
All the stuff that during my lifetime spent here, I was not offered. This is what they're offering, but they have not offered that to myself. I don't know about my parents. They don't speak about it, but I know in my own experience what he's speaking about, the way that they construct it, the way that how to participate in it, that inroads was not taught nor like offered to my person. So I don't know where that leaves me in the system of humanity, for which there's been some problems along the way.
We believe we got to get Americans physically together, again, get our hands dirty together, break bread together, have tough conversations together in an attempt to help not just find common ground, but higher ground. And so that's our movement side of what we do to address the divisiveness in communities. And we also have an effort on the political side as well. We are recruiting country first combat vets to run for a U.S. Senate, to build a powerful group in the center who can broker bipartisan deals to get.
But if they're the ones funded, what happens to people like myself and my children who have been left out of this conversation and this opportunity and this whatever? I mean, like, he's talking about the us, the US, which on the federal note system, the lovely reminders that the federal founding fathers gave to the children. So management and children know if, like, how to raise a hand properly and flag one of your elders. Again, if the us has not brought you into the fold or brought you in as specials, and then it feels like totally forgotten about you. Like, it feels more like if New York State had a visual story at this point, it looks like the land placement on the map, the geographical location of New York, very much looks like the story of the general's daughter, of what happened to her. Why, if I'm in this garden, why was my flower season and seedling season not handled in, like, the way a family member would treat another family member when they respect and care for that family member? Why was my season almost forced bastardization, making it appear like it was some whatever in that particular movie that they put out under the title The General's Daughter, 1999?
To get things done for the American people, break up the gridlock that's in the Senate. These are not folks going in there to be lifelong politicians. These are folks who are actually wanting to serve the country.
So, Jake, here's my pledge. I appreciate what you're doing. And for everybody at home, it's not about partisan. I mean, you only got two parties. People are going to have to join them if they want to be relevant in the process right now. But I want to make you part of the conversation. So when we're talking about what's happening, whether it's in the election or what issues are mattering and how they're manifesting, I'm going to keep coming back to you to give us your perspective on what you're hearing around the country from your people and what you're learning through your program and your efforts. I will make that pledge to you that you're going to be part of the conversation because we need people like you in it. Good luck with what you're doing, and thank you for trying to create a more perfect union.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, brother. I'll be in contact with you directly after this so we can keep.
All right, this is episode E135, where that veteran was, and then where this is. So now I see this. It says timeline for this Rudy person, whatever this is. But it says here, it has this. I mean, on my phone it looks like a 6, but it's actually a mirrored image. On when I look at the TV, it says it's a 4, and it also has up here Houston, TX, which again in whatever, like, I know at astronauts and space launches, like, the biggest, like, trendy, like, saying passed forward and is like, Houston, we have a problem. So now I'm going to pause this and I'm going to go over to that general's daughter where they show this Roman numeral 4 on their patches. And Viacom's the one that brought it out, which has a Roman numeral 6 in it. So I'm just going to mention that for a moment. So here it says the general's daughter, and it has a year of 1999 on here. Director was Simon West, and it was Paramount. Here's the opening to the movie. They mention 8 on the clock. Here it says a Simon West film.
Everybody's ready to go out and have a good time tonight. It's 8 p.m. Saturday evening, and it's still a hot one.
There it is. It's 8. It's 8 on the clock. Just so the August products, since they just brought that out on CBS this morning, I caught wind of it. I was disgusted by it. I'm not even going to like dignify it with an answer. Now here it has, it's the Roman numeral 4. My phone's just inversed, as are the characters here. But it's a Roman numeral 4 on the front of this. And I see that throughout the movie. They use Frank White, they use some other things, but this is, again, almost like an overture that's going on that I've noticed with my time spent here trying to figure out now he's bringing a basket of bath products. And here, this is the first time I've ever heard this. It says 5th Psychological Operations, Instructional Detachment, 7th Psychological Operations Group, with 2 symbols. I've never heard of PSYOPs. I don't know what it means. I don't have anybody I can even ask what it means. But I'm noticing it mentioned in this movie. My feet and my eyes are in 2023, but this came out in a year 1999. And again, I don't know how the studio works with the actors and when they actually know things, if they have private viewing parties ahead of time. I'm not quite sure or clear on that. Now, I find this lizard interesting considering it's called a chameleon. And then there's her sitting at this desk behind.
Don't tell me. You need your oil changed.
Nope. This is a token of my appreciation.
These are strange chocolates.
Bath products. Bath products.
Bath products?
Mm-hmm.
Should I take a hint?
No, of course not. Just bath products. Everybody likes bath products.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Really? Tell me what you like about bath products.
I like the pink soaps, and I like the skin softener, and I like the bath beads. I particularly like the bath beads. Sometimes I draw a tub, and I fill that tub with skin softeners and bath beads. I light a few candles. I put on a little Coltrane. I just soak my troubles away.
Very good, First Sergeant. I levied a none too subtle accusation of sexism at you, and you took it 3 times around the dance floor.
Not really. I just dig bath beads.
Well, thank you. Maybe I'll see you around.
By the time I got to her, she had gone away. It's made to appear that way.
The rape at West Point.
It was kept confidential for the good of the Academy.
And the Army. And it was best for Elizabeth that way.
You were in Germany when it happened.
Berlin. I was stationed there. I came back as soon as I heard.
We flew all night.
And you went straight there from the airport.
Of course.
No meeting first.
Seems Mr. Brenner is very well informed.
It was in her psych record, sir.
It didn't happen that way.
George. He's right. The meeting did come first.
It was 7 years ago. The details get confusing.
It was nothing. It was just a quick briefing in a hotel near the point. General Sonnenberg. He was very sympathetic. I want justice for my daughter.
I would give anything if this had never happened. But it did. And I'm trying to tell you the reality of the situation. We'll never find them, so we'll never know who did it. But we do know this. A co-ed academy is a good call, a necessary call. Better one unreported and unvindicated rape than to shake the foundations of West Point. To cast suspicion on 1,000 soldiers who did not gang rape a woman that night. And all you have to do is convince your daughter that she, the academy, the army, and the cause of equality would be best served if she just forgot about the whole thing. These are the times we live in, Joe.
He was right. If it had gone public, it would have permanently damaged women in the military. It destroyed West Point. It was an untenable situation.
Is that what you told Elizabeth?
Not in so many words, no. She was in no condition to understand that then. I simply tried to tell her that I loved her. I loved her very much.
Daddy loves you.
Is that why we got television in the first place? I'm just curious. At trying to keep up with the changing times. And it's like coming at you like a bullet train so fast.
And he's so proud of you. Rest now. Try not to think about it anymore. Shh. Shh, baby. Listen to me. I only want what's best for you. Trust me.
Do you?
You always do.
As a country, that's kind of what it feels like at the moment, and I'm not quite sure why.
Then don't ever think about any of this again. I know. It was an awful thing. A terrible, terrible thing. But thinking about it won't help it. So, close your eyes. It never happened. None of this ever happened.
Not my finest hour.
You were just doing what you said. Trying to protect her.
I did what I had to. What I thought best for everyone concerned. There was nothing else that could have been done. We never would have found them anyway.
Here you are, sir.
What is that?
Names of the perpetrators by Associate Agent Sunhill found with minimum of trouble. advice, sir.
That's just brilliant.
They mention in front of Fowler and General Campbell the word Sunhill and the word apple and then the word pie. Just so like Solar City in the geometrical and sacred geometry equations of they already covered this. They already covered up and put this with some kind of copyright, whatever, into a pretty little picture. Or not such a pretty little picture. So I don't understand why, when this was already addressed, however it was addressed, why is my real life journey here? Why was I brought into some meeting with a crazy donkey that then caused my entire seedling and cosmic children to arrive so awry or off at upper and lowercase gamma? It's star 1978. It's star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. I don't think I have to make mention of it, but I will. New York is not only New York in the Union, to the Union, but it's also dubbed or deemed Empire State, which at empire, that usually means there's an emperor somewhere. I just don't know where they preside. I heard one of the other movies, this Deadpool, they mentioned a whole lot of things, which I was also watching very carefully. Through a very different lens. They mentioned something about shark and NATO. Sharknado. And what Sharknado we're up to at the moment. Again, it seems pertinent information for some reason. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza.